Sun and the Moon provide our twin themes currently on Discovery Sidetrack. A multi-billion-dollar question now: what shall we do with the Moon?
Apollo mesmerized a generation.
I originally got really interested in the Moon because I'm a child of the Apollo era.
I wanted to be an Apollo astronaut. I was brokenhearted, to put it mildly, when I was not chosen.
Now the children of Apollo are getting impatient.
People went to the Moon 30 years ago. Now, if you did something 30 years ago, that means it's easy today.
I've been waiting for something to happen in space for most of my life, for over 40 years, and I'm not getting any younger, and I'm getting tired of waiting.
A 4-day rocket flight away, the Moon is Earth's nearest neighbour. It's airless and experiences lethal extremes of temperature. But there is enormous potential here, waiting for Earthlings to exploit. A lucky few have already taken advantage of one of the Moon's most charming characteristics: low gravity. Aerospace engineer Greg Bennett plans to live on the Moon, and he wants thousands of fellow Earthlings to join him.
If you were to go to the Moon 30 years from now, you would think that the Moon has simply become the Hong Kong of the solar system. It's going to be the trading center of the solar system. It's easy to get to from anywhere. It's easy to get anywhere from the Moon. So it will have become the front door to the entire universe. We've picked a favorite spot on the Moon for where we think we would like to build the first lunar city. And we selected it for a whole lot of reasons. One of them is that we want to have a really beautiful Earth view with the Earth rising almost stationary in the sky, moving about in the sky over the lunar mountains. We want it to be recognizable, and that's a key point. Now, if you look at the Moon as it rises, in the northern hemisphere, right at the top, there's a little spot called Mare Crisium. And right at the top of that little spot, there's a little place that we've sort of nicknamed Angus Bay. And we think right there would probably be one of the best places we could put our moon base. There's really no great technical challenge to be faced. I mean, there's a lot of engineering to be done, but it's not anything that requires inventing new technologies. It's applying what we already know.
3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. Liftoff. 30 minutes after the hour.
What do we know about the Moon? The Apollo astronauts collected almost 400 kilograms of lunar rock.
Let's see if I can't crash the corner and get that contact. See if I can't get her.
Look at the boulders out there. Jesus.
Analysis of the Apollo samples revealed the Moon contains useful minerals such as silicon, magnesium, aluminium and titanium. So there might be enough raw materials here to construct a civilization. But since Apollo 17 blasted off from the lunar surface in 1972, no Earthling has returned to the Moon. For 30 years, this seemed to be the last hurrah of human deep space pioneers. These crew-cut heroes were never able to exploit their great discoveries. Scientist Alan Binder was determined to recover that missed opportunity.
We had a post-Apollo program plan which would have put a lunar base up by the end of the 70s, and there would have been 50 to 100 people living and working on the moon by the early 80s. We simply dropped that, partly because Apollo was done strictly as a political answer to Sputnik. We have to show the Russians and the communists that we're better, and hence there was no scientific rationale at all. No one understood why. And so when we got there, people said, you know, now what? We've been there, done that, who cares? Because no one had bothered to explain to the American public what the moon was useful for. And so we just dropped it. And so we threw away that capability. 25 years later, we're starting that process.
The new space age began in January '98. Aboard this rocket was Binder's brainchild, a low-tech, unmanned craft called Lunar Prospector. This expedition to lunar orbit cost a mere $60 million, half the price of a jumbo jet and a tiny fraction of previous moon missions.
Okay, I've got data.
Yeah, I have data.
Binder's intention was to tear down the accepted truths of lunar development. So like all revolutionaries, he had to start small.
And I copy the receiver and log time as 001644.
This is a model of the Lunar Prospector. It's about 1.4 meters tall and 1.4 meters in diameter. This right here is the solar array drum. We get our power, obviously, from that. The science instruments are located on these 3 booms, and this is what we use to measure the composition of the moon. You notice we do call this Lunar Prospector. We're not just doing science, but we're trying to understand the distribution of resources on the moon, which we can then use to build a lunar base, to build a lunar colony, and eventually to help mankind on the Earth.
Driven by the need to survive, humankind spreads itself across the face of the Earth, taking everything from Mother Nature. Now it's nature's turn to fight back. Nature's Revenge starts Monday the 25th of June from 8 and continues all week on Discovery Sidetrack.
For the first time in history, every home in the country has been photographed from the air. Now, in what's the most sensational free gift ever from a newspaper, the Mail on Sunday and Daily Mail will give you a superb quality aerial photograph of your home. See your house, garden, street or village in amazing detail. This unique souvenir on the finest paper and mounted on a personalised certificate worth nearly £20 is a glorious tribute to your home. Free, starting tomorrow in the Mail on Sunday.
Simple things make sense, and nothing makes more sense than saving money. Many people could be paying too much for their life insurance. Now it's simple to get a better deal. If you're considering or indeed have already taken out life insurance, ring us now. Put simply, we could save you money. Ring now on 0808 100 3435 or log on to simplysense.com.
Together for the first time, a unique 8 CD box set featuring some of the finest music that you'll ever experience. 8 CDs of relaxing music to help you unwind and ease the stress of modern living. A certain remedy for a world that continues to move faster and faster. Chill out moods. Over 8 hours of beautiful music to soothe your spirit and ease your soul. Calming, peaceful, and incredible value. 8 CDs, all for just $29.99. But that's not all. When you buy Chill Out Moods, you'll get an exclusive CD of Feng Shui music absolutely free. Call 0870 444 2235 now. All the chill-out music you'll ever need in one superb collection. The music for your way of life. A unique collection available to you by calling 0870 444 2235 now. Euphoric and uplifting, 3 decades of stunning music for your way of life. 8 CDs of chill-out moods, not forgetting our special and exclusive free gift. Don't miss out on this superb television offer. Call now.
Experience a fantastic voyage.
Space is infinite.
Where the human race knows no bounds.
Liftoff.
Space can now be conquered. Next stop, the moon.
In less than 30 years, we're going to have hotels on the moon.
To coincide with the eclipse on June the 21st.
The moon eats away at the final scraps of the sun.
An epic drama of adventure and exploration.
And missions deeper into the solar system finally become feasible.
Sun and Moon, tonight at 8 on Discovery Side Trek.
Just 3 months after launch, Prospector turned lunar science on its head. The Apollo samples had suggested the moon is entirely dry, but deep in craters at the moon's poles, Prospector sensed hydrogen, which is probably frozen water.
Clearly the presence of water ice that we have detected is of fundamental importance because we no longer have to go to the moon with all our fuel. We can use this lunar water, break it down to hydrogen and oxygen, and use it as fuel. We can also use the water for life support. So rather than take, hundreds of tons of water or fuel to the moon, we've got it. This really will make lunar exploration, lunar colonization, vastly less expensive than it would otherwise.
Thanks to Prospector, the moon is now seen as more than a lump of dead rock. It's a virgin territory ripe for development. So scientists from all corners of the air and space community are actively promoting their grand visions for what shall be done with the moon.
The uses of the moon are only limited by our imagination. Then you can grab a hold of the lunar materials themselves and change them into virtually anything that you're used to producing here on Earth.
There'll be big buildings, there'll be big domes, for example, 1 kilometer tall, and they'll make use of the low gravity, so you'll be able to fly around with wings on.
I envision a really good colony on the moon of people proving that they can live comfortably and happily no matter what their backgrounds are.
Although lunar colonization has got cheaper, it will still cost many billions of pounds. So who is going to finance the visionaries? Jim Benson is a successful businessman. He believes that the development of the moon will be paid for by private enterprise and not the government.
Space is too expensive to do as a taxpayer-supported program. We need to find ways to make space pay, and then we can do anything that makes a profit. We can go to space and do all those things. But if space doesn't pay, we just can't go to stay.
Some companies have already raised millions on the prospect of the fortunes that could be made on the moon. One flourishing lunar business is Benson's Space Dev.
When I think about lunar colonies, I think of all the business opportunities, providing the energy, providing the transportation, providing the communications, step-by-step building up to the point where we can have settlements and colonies. If Space Dev can supply a lot of those infrastructure needs, we're going to be a very big company. Space is infinite, the resources are infinite, the opportunities are infinite.
The moon might be about to drink Earth's most powerful cocktail, science mixed with capitalism. After 3 billion years of geological stasis, this cratered desert would enjoy economic and technological progress. Benson is so confident about the potential of the imminent moon rush, he's building a new office in Southern California to house his ground control.
Well, this is our main conference room, and we'll be using this for planning our strategy, our different missions, talking to potential investors. This will be the mission control center with 4 or 5 PCs and monitor screens along here. We're building 3 clean rooms that will go back through here, and visitors will be able to come in and look at us building on maybe up to 3 different spacecraft simultaneously. The first company that flies a highly profitable and publicly visible mission beyond Earth is going to change people's consciousness about space. They'll realize that space is a place. It's not a government program. Space is available to everyone. Public access to space. But we've got to have a visible, commercial, private, successful mission first. Then all hell's going to break loose.
But how will ordinary Earthlings reach the moon? The X Prize offers $10 million to anyone that flies a reusable passenger craft 70 miles up to the edge of space. This could resolve the first leg of the 250,000-mile journey to the moon. Though named after a children's TV show, Thunderbird is one of Britain's leading contenders for the X Prize.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
You're going to start off the journey on your back. The nose cone will be in an upright position. People will be sort of laid back. You can take more G-forces that way. We've got a single large liquid propellant rocket engine that ignites and pushes the vehicle up. We accelerate up to about 3 Gs, which is 3 times the Earth's gravity.
I can't move a muscle. I'm froze solid.
We keep the main engine burning for about 5 minutes, then shut it off, and the vehicle will continue to coast on up. You'll see the curvature of the Earth, and you see the black sky. And using the thrusters down here, you'll be able to orientate the craft in any direction to get that tremendous view, you know, that out-of-this-world view that only a few hundred people so far have experienced.
Gosh, ain't that something? I thought I'd seen everything. Just look at those cities.
At the edge of space, the drag of Earth's gravity is reduced, and the rest of the journey to the moon will require much less power.
Once in space, your spacecraft could be refueled, maybe from a space tug or the International Space Station or the Mir Space Station, if that's still up there. Refueled and then fully fueled, you'd have enough energy to be able to inject the craft in a lunar orbit.
Thunderbird is designed to carry humans, perhaps the staff of the very first moon base. But before such fragile pioneers can live on the moon, there must be a recce by a more robust and reliable species. So what will the new generation of lunar explorers be made of? The advance guard of lunar development will be led by intelligent machines, like this robot called Nomad.
Nomad is a planetary rover prototype. It is a 4-wheel vehicle that uses laser and stereo cameras to navigate autonomously on natural terrain.
Autonomous navigation means no human control. Nomad makes its own decisions, so can explore environments where humans can't survive. The wheels fold into the compact 1.5 metre wide hull, so it will fit inside the payload bay of a standard deep space rocket. The engineers who designed Nomad are confident that if they raise the $20 million needed to get it there, Nomad would be the next intelligence to land on the moon.
Already, Nomad has capabilities to see, to safeguard, to communicate. It is a veteran of hundreds of kilometers of travel in space analogous terrain here on Earth. And it is a continuing, persistent evolution of the technologies and the operations and the ideas that are essential to carry us from Earth back to the moon.
Once on the moon, Nomad can be programmed to scour the landscape for the ideal location for the first base.
Derivatives of the Nomad design will be roaming on the lunar surface, looking for materials to extract, try to perform scientific investigations, and prototype this notion of robotic colonization of an extraterrestrial surface. We all have a very intimate relationship with this robot. We're the people that conceived it, designed it, built it. When Nomad is on the moon, it will be as if one part of ourselves is actually operating up there.
If Nomad finds a good spot, then a second wave of robots might arrive. They could carry superior skills. Kumar Ramahali is a lunar enthusiast who has designed a robot that does much more than survey.
The moon will be teeming with intelligent robots during the next 30 years. This particular one is called the Common Lunar Lander. It comes from a craft launched from the Earth, possibly assembled in space as we are traveling, and lands softly on the moon like that. And then the robotic arm picks up the soil from the moon, very much like the lunar simulant dust that we have here, puts it in the oven here. The solar collector collects the sunlight, focuses here, and points it to the soil, and we make any material that we want. Bricks, briquettes, tiles like this one, for example. We have made this one from the lunar soil. And if you make bricks and beams of certain particular shapes and sizes, you can assemble them much like we build homes on this Earth.
Ramahali believes that building out of lunar dust will cut the cost of establishing the moon base by billions of pounds. Without his robotic homemaker, the construction materials must be launched from Earth at a cost of almost £15 million a tonne.
We can start with this kind of a device, go there and start the colonization of the moon at very short notice, because we have sized it, we have designed it engineering-wise, and we have costed it so we know what can be done.
Ramahali calculates that a robot will build 12 huts in 6 months, providing shelter and life support for the first pioneers. But how would humans live on the moon? Astronauts have already survived extended stays in space stations, but they were orbiting close to Earth and so could be resupplied. Rocketing food all the way to the moon will be vastly expensive. So lunar pioneers will have to be self-sufficient. NASA's Life Support Department recently examined life in a self-sufficient moon base. In 1997, 4 volunteers spent 90 days sealed inside a 20-foot wide steel can, known as the chamber. Among them was Englishman Nigel Packham.
We don't get day or night signals from the outside, so we don't know when the sun comes up and we don't know when the sun goes down. So both physically and biochemically, in fact, our bodies adjust to the environment we're in. I think to a whole, the crew actually slept very, very well in here. But you've got to remember also that the person who's sleeping underneath you is only 2 feet away, and that you can hear everything that they're doing and they can hear everything that you do. So it gives you some idea of what a lunar base might be like.
Throughout the 90 days, video cameras allowed scientists on the outside to observe life within the chamber, where rigorous experiments were taking place. A human consumes about 900 kilograms of food a year. To survive, lunar pioneers must extract at least part of their nourishment from the moon. The chamber's chief scientist believes this will be possible.
The experiments we've got going on in this chamber are looking at how we can use plants. Plants obviously will provide us with food for our space crews on the surface of the moon. This is a lunar simulant that we're looking at, which is essentially very, very similar to what we find on the surface of the moon. It's a high titanium basalt, and it does well in growing plants. Of course, what we'd have to do on the moon, since there is no atmosphere, we'd have to bring it inside some habitation chamber, some plant growth area, but we should be able to use it pretty much as is. Now this is wheat, and these particular varieties of wheat are what we call super dwarf varieties that have been bred specifically for use in these plant production systems for space applications. This variety, as you can see, gets very, very short, but it's high yielding and does well under very high production conditions. We provide high light to this crop, and we provide 24 hours of light to this crop. Now, other crops that we're looking at besides wheat and sweet potatoes are white potatoes, soybeans, rice, and tomatoes, and a whole host of lesser quantities of crops, herbs, some of the herbs and spices as well. Inside this chamber, we have a crop of sweet potatoes growing. This crop was planted 30 days ago and is growing hydroponically. Hydroponic production of plants is growing plants just in nutrient solution. There's no soil. The reason we like to do that is that we can very precisely control the amount of nutrients that they get. And we also then can grow the plants in a much faster way. There's a lot of different food dishes we can make from sweet potatoes, both the roots, the normal sweet potatoes, but also a lot of the tops are edible as salads and whatnot. So we have research going on in our food science and food technology areas looking at how can we take the sweet potato plant and use as much as possible for consumption for our human crews.
Day or night, at any moment, our planet teems with a whole pageant of wildlife. Enriching our world just by existing. Wildlife, today 2 p.m. on Animal Planet.
Got something you want to share? Then do it with Alpha Telecom. With Alpha, you can talk to the world from only 2p. Opening your Alpha account is easy. There's no need to change your phone, line or number. Just call free now on 0800 376 2345 and talk to the world from only 2p. Alpha Telecom. Live life to the full. Share your experience. Call free now on 0800 376 2345.
This is an appeal from Oxfam to ask you for £2 a month to help some of the world's poorest people. Picture yourself in a world where the rain fails to come, where your babies are forced to drink water so polluted you fear it might kill them, where your children cry with hunger, where every day is a desperate struggle to survive, and tomorrow the struggle starts all over again. But you can help change lives by calling 0800 33 88 33 now to give just £2 a month to Oxfam. Your £2 a month could help Oxfam provide equipment so villagers can build wells for clean water, or buy seeds and tools so farmers can feed their families for generations to come. So please, call 0800 33 88 33 and give £2 a month. People in the third world don't want handouts. They only want the chance to work their way out of poverty and create a better world for their children. With your help, we can achieve so much. Call 0800 33 88 33. Thank you.
If you've been hurt in an accident in the last 3 years, you may be entitled to compensation.
So I was asleep in the car and I woke up and realised that we'd had an accident. I saw the advert for National Accident Helpline on the television, decided to give them a call, and they put me through to a specialist solicitor. It was on a no-win, no-fee basis. I received £9,000 for my injuries.
Find out free if you can make a no-win, no-fee claim. Call the National Accident Helpline now on 0800 556 557.
Driven by the need to survive, humankind spreads itself across the face of the earth, taking everything from Mother Nature. Now it's nature's turn to fight back. Nature's Revenge starts Monday the 25th of June from 8 and continues all week on Discovery Sidetrack.
We did evaluate a diet that we would potentially use on the lunar surface, made up of about 15 different crops. I'm not sure if taste-wise you'd want to do that for 3, 4, 5 years or longer. Certainly in our first missions to the moon, we're going to be forced to grow only those type of crops. But I think as we go on in exploration, we may want to look more at animals, for example. Maybe even starting out as lowly as fish and working our way up from there.
I have 1270 1270 in B1.
1270 B1.
While I'm here, let me do the other one again.
During photosynthesis, plants emit oxygen that humans can breathe and transpire water that humans can drink. So, on the airless and arid moon, plants can provide life support. This could make the difference between pioneers holding out for months and colonists staying for generations. In the chamber, NASA scientists tested an ecosystem which supports human life indefinitely, but is also compact enough to fit inside a moon base.
During our 90-day test, we looked at combinations of biological approaches and physical-chemical, machinery, if you will, approaches to recycling air and water. Nature has done an excellent job of devising methods for providing life support to us on Earth, so there's no reason why we shouldn't adapt those same methodologies for use in space as well, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Intensive recycling is not for the squeamish. Not long ago, this drinking water was urine.
Well, let me take you on a quick tour of the bathroom while we're here. Right here is what remains of the urinal hose. The men urinated directly into the measuring cylinder to measure it. The women urinated into a beaker and then transferred that into a measuring cylinder. So this was really just the recipient of the urine. The solid waste was actually collected and logged in the chamber, sent out of the chamber, and incinerated outside, with the product gases of which is mainly carbon dioxide. The plants feeding on that carbon dioxide then provided oxygen back to us, and also food in the form of the grain. So the grain came back in here, we milled it into flour, made wheat. So you can see that we're eventually getting to this recycling program, the ultimate in recycling.
Using Nigel Packham and his fellow volunteers, an estimate was made of the minimum amount of plants lunar colonists will need to survive.
Our estimates for the plant area, the growing area that we require for one human to provide food on an ongoing, continuous basis is about 30 square meters. Now, in terms of the plant's ability to consume carbon dioxide and to produce oxygen, we only need about 10 square meters of growing area for one person on an ongoing, continuous basis.
To accelerate growth, most moon plants will be cultivated inside cabinets. But Al Holland, the Chamber's psychologist, discovered there are benefits to scattering plants all over the place. A splash of greenery has powerful side effects.
Closing that hatch for the last time, slamming it down and closing that hatch, has a psychological effect, and it's a sense of finality that, yes, this is going to be my world, there's no going back. And I think for a lunar colony, it'll be the same thing. Anytime you're looking at people in long-duration confined environments, you must start thinking about normalizing their life. Because these are normal, high-achieving people in a very abnormal living situation because they're cut off from their larger social milieu. So anything you can do to normalize that life is important, which includes the use of plants, not only for physicochemical regeneration, but also for the psychological regeneration that occurs with contact with plants. Diversity of life forms is very important. If we could have pets on a lunar colony, if they weren't too distracting or too disruptive, that would be even better. So I think it's important to allow people a wide array of ways to recharge their psychic batteries, so to speak, their emotional batteries. And exposure to plants, keeping plants is one part of this.
There was definitely a therapeutic aspect of having the few lettuce plants that we had in here growing hydroponically. We took them from seedlings all the way up to full-grown lettuce plants. And apart from the length of our hair, those were about the only things that changed in this chamber. Nothing else really changed. So tending the lettuce plants was very important. Thinning them became quite a difficult decision, which ones to take out and let go, and the other ones take all the way on to maturity.
We have techniques to deal with almost all the contingencies that we've looked at. We can do them more elegantly with lower amounts of consumables, for example, lower power requirements. We can make smaller pieces of hardware that weigh less and take up less volume and so on. But really there are no technological showstoppers from putting in place on the surface of the moon a life support system which will work and which will work well.
The technology exists for the moon base to grow and sprawl. But what will attract ordinary Earthlings in large numbers? The answer is not up on the moon, but back down on Earth. Human civilization is endangering Earth, and in just 30 years' time, there will be twice as many of us. Many experts predict an energy crisis and demand that the richer countries curb their wasteful lifestyles. But one Texan scientist envisions an alternative future. He believes that everybody can enjoy the American dream as long as the Earth doesn't supply the energy. David Criswell.
Solar power is your ultimate resource in this solar system for power. And fortunately, It's an enormous power source, trillions of times or billions of times more than we actually need here on Earth. And so the challenge is to just divert a tiny little bit of it efficiently down here to the Earth in such a way that it doesn't disrupt the environment.
But the sun is often obscured on Earth. So Criswell has employed a little lateral logic and come up with a lunar solar power system.
The lunar solar power system is a way to provide solar electric energy on Earth, but rather than capturing the sunlight on Earth, you capture it on the moon. The moon is exposed continuously to sunlight in a very dependable way because it has no atmosphere. On the moon, you can use photocells in very thin film form to take sunlight, change it to electricity, and then another set of solid-state electronics can change that electric power into microwaves, and then the microwaves would deliver the power in the form of beams back down to Earth.
To provide all the power Earth uses without burning any fuel, the moon must be turned into a permanent industrial outpost. Large tracts of its surface would be covered by solar power stations, all manufactured out of lunar dust.
The lunar solar power stations are made up of plots which have solar cells, they have electric wiring, they have microwave generators and reflective antennas. All of that material, or virtually all of that material, is made on the moon from the lunar dust that's underfoot. Most of what you're building is glass, and virtually all of the lunar soils can be made into glass using solar thermal energy. This is not a science fiction thing. There's no doubt at all that you can do it.
Criswell estimates that construction of the lunar solar power system will take 30 years and cost trillions of pounds. Working alongside the robots, there will be at least 5,000 people. And if this industrial moon base follows the pattern of human colonization on Earth, it would expand and diversify.
Once you have a source of wealth on the moon, it'll become like a mining town in Colorado back in the last century. People will find reasons to be there, most of which have absolutely nothing to do with the primary activity. One of the rewards for me would be to be buried on the moon.
Some lunar enthusiasts believe that the draw of the moon for Earthlings will be so great that a spectacular and luxurious city will grow up around not work, but entertainment. Among those promoting this vision is English space economist Patrick Collins.
As economic growth continues, more and more of the work we do is to do with what people want, what customers want, not what they need anymore. And one of the things they want is tourism. And frankly, the world is getting smaller and smaller now. You know, there's nowhere you can go that's new. There's nowhere you can go where you're out of reach of a mobile phone. So space is the next frontier for tourism. The first people to go there are going to be adventurers, people for whom it's really their life's ambition to go to the moon. And then there's going to be, you know, the rich will go once it's really comfortable and safe. And I guess if you go there in 100 years, it'll be pretty much like Vegas.
Despite being surrounded by inhospitable desert, Las Vegas is the fastest growing city in America because its economy is based on tourism, the world's largest industry. Some of the hotels here cost over £1 billion, as much as a small moon base.
A lot of money is spent on tourism on Earth. More people spend money on vacations than we do on science by far. Everybody likes to imagine themselves being on another planet, exploring the solar system, and this is now getting to the point where it will happen and can happen. Now that prospectors discovered water, we can have a golf course and a swimming pool.
In the moon's low gravity, people will feel lighter and so be able to perform feats that seem miraculous on Earth.
Running is going to be different when you're on the moon because you're not going to have as much traction between your feet and the ground. So it'll take you longer to get started. You'll start skidding your feet like a cartoon character. In fact, if you wanted to, you could actually run across the swimming pool walking on water.
In 1/6 gravity, humans can fly like birds. So from here, well, if this was the outside view, the other side of the apartment might be into a dome from the top of the hotel down to the ground. So you could go out onto the balcony, flap your wings, and just fly off.
Some visitors will want to fly out of the city and enjoy the scenery.
To me, the moon's an extremely beautiful place. I must admit I like deserts. I like barren things on the Earth. I enjoy that kind of environment. When you go, if you look at the Apollo 11 landing site, which of course chosen because it was flat, it may be uninteresting to most people. I think it's beautiful, and you may recall the astronauts themselves said that it had a certain type of beauty to it.
Columbia, this is Houston, reading you loud and clear, over. Yeah, reading you loud and clear, how's it going? Oh, it's beautiful, Mike, it really is.
But if you go, for example, to the Apollo 15 landing site, you've got a mountain behind you which is 5 kilometers high. You've got a valley in front of you which is 1 kilometer across and 300 meters deep. It's a mini Grand Canyon, if you will, and it's just spectacular. I think there are many, many areas on the moon which someday will be national parks.
Space tourism is fast becoming a multi-million-pound business. That's why after 20 years at NASA, Greg Bennett gave up his job training astronauts to join a company that plans to build hotels in space. His new employer is based in Las Vegas, where he's picking up the tricks of the hotel trade.
These people know how to make a fun place, right? Maybe we can talk them into building the Luna City Hotel. Well, the materials they use here remind me a lot of what it'll be like on the moon. Everything is built of stone. You know, you get these beautiful floors just by polishing the rock. You need a lot of room. You don't want to feel claustrophobic when you build a place like this. For one thing, the ceiling is high enough. So if you start bouncing on the moon in 1/6 gravity, leaping your own height into the sky, at least you won't bump your head. You know that dry atmosphere that you get on an airplane? We'll have to avoid that. So we'll probably have lots of fountains, lots of water courses everywhere, waterfalls. One day we will be standing in a space just like this with maybe a lot more greenery, right on the surface of the moon itself, you know, and we'll be standing on floors made out of the actual rock of the moon.
Proposals for moon hotels include a kilometre-wide glass dome, costing billions of pounds to build. It could accommodate many thousands of tourists, each paying over £1,000 a night.
Within less than 10 years now, we'll have short trips to space. Within less than 20 years, we'll have short trips to hotels in orbit. Yes. And then in less than 30 years, we're going to have hotels on the moon.
If we get this evolution going and move at the same pace that we did, or even half the pace that we did during the Apollo era, 30 years from now, I can imagine tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people living on the moon. Once you start building it, it can expand, and you can have people not only going for a year, but you can go and have them stay forever and have children and have their children have children. Just as our forefathers, 200 years ago started coming to this continent, and look at how many people are here now.
What secrets lie beneath the waves? Creatures forgotten by time. Creatures of the deep. Sunday from 8 on Discovery.
Many people our age would like to do something now to help provide for funeral expenses. It's a wise idea when you consider that even simple arrangements can cost up to £800 or more. That's why Sun Life have introduced the Over 50 plan to help meet those final expenses. And it's proving popular with thousands of people who are very much full of life. From just £6 a month, you can secure life insurance that pays out a cash sum on death. Provided you're aged between 50 and 80, you're guaranteed to be accepted with no health questions and no medical. Call now on 0800 60 80 60 and Sun Life will send you your information pack. There is no obligation and no salesman will call. Apply now and an attractive clock radio can be yours free to welcome you as a new policyholder. It's a marvelous feeling to know your life insurance is in order and you can get on with enjoying life with Sun Life. The lines are open, so call now.
There are people who conquer mountains, while the rest of us simply watch. People who take a stand for their beliefs. People who go the extra mile, who push themselves to the limit, who never give up. And there are people who climb a different mountain every day, who go that extra mile with courage, determination, and hope. Sometimes they falter, but they never give up. Will you go that extra mile with them today? Will you call 0800 316 4000 and give £2 a month to Imperial Cancer Research Fund so we can bring hope to more people with cancer? Because our scientists and doctors are going that extra mile too, working with others to find new ways to prevent, treat, and cure cancer. We're turning science into hope. It takes effort, knowledge, and most of all, time. That's why we need your £2 every single month. We won't give up. Please don't give up either. Call 0800 316 4000 now to give £2 a month to Imperial Cancer. That's 0800 316 4000. Thank you.
The drive to colonize might one day propel humanity further across the solar system. The moon could then become a launch pad for this next age of space exploration.
The moon is quite important for the long-term continued human exploration of the solar system, because it's filled with all the important things that humans need to live and work and prosper in space.
It's already been established that lunar rock contains the metals most prized by the aerospace industry.
You can use the magnesium, the aluminum, the titanium to build spacecraft to go to Mars, to Venus, to Jupiter, to the stars for all I know. To build those things, to transport them into space from the Earth's surface is very, very, very costly. From the moon, it's quite inexpensive once we have that complex set up.
In the moon's low gravity, flight requires much less power. so spacecraft could launch from here with enough momentum to boldly go where nobody has been before.
I think by the 60th anniversary of the Apollo program, the moon will be occupied by many thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands of people. It will be the grand central station, if you will, to the rest of the solar system, and it will be the primary place for humanity off Earth. It'll be our first, not just outpost, but the first place that we really live. I think there will be children born there, and some of them will be a few years old by that time. So, and that'll be just the start of the process. And so it will be the real stepping stone for humanity on beyond its own limits.
We're starting into a brand new era, a brand new millennium, and I think we can accomplish anything that our imaginations allow us and that the technology is available for. And it's so hard to predict what can be possible, but why not have orbiting businesses and orbiting hotels leading to human settlements on the moon and scientific outposts and even hotels on the moon and Mars eventually. All of that's possible and will happen. The question is when.